All right, so we're going to start with some frequently missed questions from AP Classroom. We're going to start with Unit 3, Question 2. It says, for which of the following function is the chain rule? Okay, now when I hear the chain rule says this. If I have a function f of g of x, if I take the derivative of this function, this is actually a function that is composed with another function. If I take the derivative of this function, its derivative would be as followed. Derivative of the outside, copy and paste the inside, times the derivative of the inside. That's chain rule. So it's saying, okay, there are three options here. Which one of these, you don't have to take the derivative, which one of these would I use the chain rule for? So let's start from the bottom, we'll move up. This one right here. The function is y equals 1 over 8x to the fourth minus 2x. Now, chain rule only applies to functions that are composed within other functions. So this function right here, I can actually rewrite it as 8x to the fourth minus 2x raised to the negative 1. So this function right here actually does apply for chain rule because it's the 1 over x function composed with the 8x to the fourth minus 2x function. So this one right here does apply for chain rule. Let's go to the next function. Number 2, e is equal, e tangent of x. What we have here is actually two functions that are being multiplied together. It's the e to the x function and the tangent x function. So we take a look at both of these functions. There is nothing being composed into e, and there's nothing being composed into tangent. They are just plain, bland functions. So all I would need to use here is the product rule. There's no need to use chain rule, so that one is not an option. Lastly, y equals sine of 3x squared. So the question is this a function within a function? Is there something being composed into the sine function? Well, the answer is yes. If my original function is f of x is equal to sine of x, and say g of x is equal to 3x squared, then I can say that this function is the composition. I can write it as f of g of x, which is a composition which requires chain rule. That's the same as me saying sine of 3x squared. So because this is a composition of functions, I am going to use chain rule on 1 and I am going to use chain rule on 3.